Peut-être tout ça.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Variant Edition's live streaming show. I was doing a bunch of running around right before this because I couldn't find the little connector that I had for the sound, so you wouldn't have been able to hear me. It was exactly where I put it. There was just a little bit of a snafu happening, and so I stressed myself out quite a bit. What does my watch say that I did? Yeah, my watch said I spiked real hard there for a while. Oh, jeepers. Well, welcome to Variant Edition's weekly releases show. We call it Your Local Comic Show because we like to talk about some other stuff too. And today we have a doozy. I know I'm outside of my usual time, which means a lot of you will be catching this later. So if you have any questions, please pop them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them next week. So wherever you're catching this, I am gonna kick things off because there's been some huge developments in, sorry, one second here. I didn't want to burp directly into the microphone. There's been some huge developments in Diamond's bankruptcy proceedings, and so they have a tentative buyer if things will be approved. Do we have a replacement X? Hopefully. Craig is downstairs. Okay. Sorry, Craig, customer there who needed an answer for something, so I figured to get that to them right now. So there's been a huge development in Diamond's bankruptcy proceedings, and in that they were bought by an outfit called Alliance Entertainment. Now, for those of you who've been following along the story of Diamond Comics, Alliance Games is a subsidiary of Diamond. They're not the entity that bought it, nor is it an entity that Steve Geppi kind of concocted up, the guy who owns Diamond and the Geppi family. It's not anything he concocted up to be like, yeah, it's not us, we're going to buy ourselves out of bankruptcy and it's going to be fine, which is some current late stage capitalism bullshit that I expect from things like this. But yeah, Alliance ended up buying them. They're an entertainment outfit. They are getting into the pop culture sphere, and they really do seem to have bought Diamond with the mindset that they will be inheriting a lot of the gaming structure that's been built up. Games and pop culture toys, that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of licenses that they have, and Alliance Entertainment has a lot of connections to different outlets, including Walmart and a whole range of other specialty stores. They were primarily or originally a record store, or sorry, not a record store, a record distributor, vinyl record distributor. And they've been pushing out into the space. And so they ended up buying Diamond with this intent of really going through that. And comics really seems to have been a secondary concern there. So there's some interesting things that this all essentially gobbles up. One interesting note is they did not in any way, shape, or form purchase Diamond UK or the two basically subsidiary companies that technically own Diamond UK that were under the main Diamond umbrella, because they stage capitalism bullshit. Companies that own two other companies that own the third company, you know, just like normal business stuff, simple. And so that's a little question mark. Maybe Universal actually goes for that because they did in fact show some interest in that and Alliance early on. But it looks like, barring any decisions by the bankruptcy proceedings, This is the outlet that Diamond has chosen to go with. That may go forward, that may not. There's a secondary bid in by basically the backup chosen is a bid by Universal combined with company that owns NECA. I'm forgetting their name right now. And a whole bunch of like WizKids and a whole bunch of other things. They did like a joint bid that if I read properly, was worth more money than the bid that was accepted. So I'm almost wondering if this is about like covering debts in some way, and as as Diamond UK was like a profitable division of Diamond, maybe there's some things moving around, some things shifting around. Who knows? Again, it's hard to say. But what we do have information on is this nice little interview that I believe the CEO of Alliance gave, and I'm going to pull this up on my end. But if you go to comicsbeat.com, you can get like the full meal deal. Alliance chairman Bruce Ogilvy. Get out of here, pop up. You're in my way. Bruce Ogilvy on the Diamond purchase. This wasn't about comics, is what the article is called, which already bodes well. So there's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to Diamond. I suggest you read Heidi's full article. I'm going to see if this will click through. It's thinking. Oh, it's thinking hard. Come on, friend. Hi, I'm back. If anyone out there has caught any of that and you'd like to help me say where I left off. I know I don't have my regulars out there right now because I'm definitely not on stream right now. Sorry, one sec. I've got another ask here. Right. So, wherever I was, let's just say that we were talking about Alliance buying Diamond and the chairman of Alliance having a few interesting things to say about how they really didn't buy Diamond as a comics distributor or for comics distribution. So while a lot of people are going to be happy that it looks like Diamond has a purchaser and that they might survive all of this, I am highly suspicious of whether or not they're actually going to make it through the end of this whole process as an entity that, you know, still will be existing. So that'll be a fun little thing to do. In the meantime, got the article up here. It's at xb.com. Alliance Chairman Bruce Ogilvy on the Diamond purchase. This wasn't about comics. This is a bit of transcription from a class that does feature who sucks a lot. Basically, one of the co-hosts at one point in time started making fried chicken jokes about Miles Morales, which is exactly what you want from a freaking comics retailer, just a real piece of garbage. But the information ended up coming to this platform. This is cases. So there's a good chunk of the 1 hour conversation kind of posted here. And they talk a little bit about how they got tipped off as to what was happening with Diamond, what they might want to do going through with it, how they were approaching different things, how they even talked with Universal at one point in time. And one of the competitors who ended up trying to bid for Diamond Comics. And the things that really get to the point, I highly suggest you read the whole article itself. But here's Ogilvy talking in the first part that really kind of talks about comics. And he says, I haven't spoken with the Diamond team yet because we're not allowed to, but I want to hear what they have to say and what we can do to fix this business. I just know how it is currently being run is not working. From everything I've read and been hearing, there's just not enough volume for the labor involved. We don't like to sell $5 CDs and DVDs. We can't make any money on it. We want to sell $20 products. That's the challenge because the labor cost and the freight cost just sucks out all the profit of it. We have a 95 cents rule. If we can't make 95 cents moving something through our warehouse, we have to make that as a minimum because that's what it costs to move things through. So, big problem with this is obviously comics in terms of American dollars are like sometimes $4 items, sometimes $5 items, moving up more to $6 here and there for the bigger size items. So when he's talking about $5 CDs and DVDs, they don't like doing that. They're not really profitable. That is the majority of the single issue comics business. Now you can get away with something like that when you have bigger companies that you're distributing. But Diamond does not have the big companies, at least not unless they're wholesaling them, which again provides to be a problem because if you're not doing this in a volume type way, you're not really making money off of the single issues. And they have all of these smaller presses, which is really nice because there's a place for smaller press to be. But when you're looking at this from where they're looking at it, and the Alliance seems to be very extremely business minded, not necessarily sort of like on the end of like, you know, you kind of float different parts of art with bits that might be profitable. they don't seem to be really interested in anything like that. They are looking to run a business, a pop culture business. And more and more of the comments from Alliance make it seem like they haven't really considered what distributing the comic side would be. So I don't foresee them really keying into that part of the business and really supporting that part of the business. I see that changing drastically if they do. And so we'll kind of see how that lands. Another part that is very pertinent in terms of, there's these little bits here. When asked about previews, Diamond's catalog, he said, we need to understand the procedure first. It's not like it's our way or the highway. We have to figure out what's working and what's not. So previews might be a thing that still comes out. Previews might not be a thing that comes out. They're still waiting to look into things. Them on working with retailers and Diamond's past way of doing business. Ogilvy said that his employees went into a comic shop and heard a lot of complaints about Diamond's procedures. Quote, I was getting updated today by that person today who was telling me everything they were saying. Oh, that's a little mess of a mind. So I'm sure we should be trying to understand and learn from all of that. I think that messed up because if I remember what it was saying before, is like it was getting updated today that Diamond there's a lot of complaints about how Diamond runs and the procedures and whatnot. And yeah, that's true. Now on Free Comic Book Day in particular, which was not mentioned as part of the acquisition, but Diamond does own the trademark, Ogilvy didn't seem to know much. And the panelists had to explain how it worked. And he said, I guess all the publishers provide the free comic books. There's no free record store day. Or there's no free record day. There's record store day. Diamond, and he says, Diamond was not a very profitable business, and that's why it went into bankruptcy. If I don't make it profitable, I'm going to have a very grumpy bank and employees, which is to say that it seems like when he approaches the idea of Free Comic Book Day, even as a concept, it's not going to fly. So at least Diamond might not be shepherding a version of Free Comic Book Day anytime in the future. And if they still own the rights to the name, that'll be interesting. Now, Alliance might sell the name. Who knows? Alliance might not even own the name because it wasn't mentioned in the purchased parts. And on selling more physical products that can be collectible, we're leaning into it to be stronger in the collectible space. We're known as one and done, but there is value in hanging on to something and selling it later on, seeing if it would lead to greater value down the road. And on different parts of Diamond in general, we had one meeting with Diamond. It was like pulling teeth, and there was a lot of, we can't talk about that. He mentioned that Ogilvy mentioned that he had never met the Jeppy family. Quote, we don't have the ability to talk to anyone at Diamond. After the court approves it, we will talk to their own leaders team. I'm a big believer in employee owned. I've made a lot of trips to Kentucky, the site of Alliance's warehouse over the years. Yes, the employees do own Alliance, which I think is a really cool setup. I haven't really dug in much deeper than that, but and then on retaining Diamond staff in any company, we are required to have the people who have a relationship with vendors and customers. If we lose them, we really fall behind. Now, obviously, over time, we kind of learn who is the good one and who's bad, and we're not gonna go in with a chainsaw from day one. That's not in our DNA. I wouldn't even know how to do that. So, after listening to Ogilvy discuss the purchase, one of the panelists kind of said what this really came down to, and they said the comics thing wasn't really a big part of this at all, it seems. And Ogilvy is quoted as saying, no, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't 100% of it. And he says, what is true here? My main takeaway, or her main takeaway, is that Ogilvy is a good businessman who said a lot of the right things, but as a good businessman, it is clear that Diamond's comic business is a shadow of its former self, and the problem of how to distribute a patchwork quilt of $5 products from companies that range from one person in a garage to studio IP farms is not going to be magically solved. So it'll be very interesting to see where things go from here. I'm a little worried for how Diamond is going to go and how things are going to proceed in that realm. But it's early days, and we'll see what's going on. So with that kind of talked about, and the technical glitches and all that out of the way, my goodness, we've got a big old stacky of books to talk about, and this old stacky is about yay tall. So I'm going to kind of burn through these. We've got Out of Alcatraz, which was technically out last week, but we got our copies late because of weird shipping things. So I'm going to talk about it this week. It is a new release from Oni Press, written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Tyler Crook. It is a beautiful series, and I can show you everything because these are out now. So this is a series about a breakout that happened at Alcatraz, a real breakout that happened at Alcatraz, and I believe this is sort of like a fictionalized version of what happened afterwards. It is very affecting. It is very tense, and I'm here with these characters and all of their flaws and everything that's happening. A beautiful book that I highly recommend you kind of check out. Another beautiful book, Absolute Martian Manhunter. I'm so excited for people to get to experience this book because the art is absolutely beautiful. And the colors just sort of like, as they go through the issue, they're kind of more and more vibrant as different thing happens. I'm not going to spoil any more than that, but there's a good chunk of stuff to go through. And the last page is a really interesting use of the medium. I'm very happy about how that turned out. It's Dennis Camp, who was the writer of Assorted Crisis Events, which we had an event for in the store very recently, and is also the writer of Ultimates. He's really having a moment right now, and this book is also an announcement with artist Javier Rodriguez. Another big book this week is Batman 158. It is the first part of the second Hush series from Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. Hush is a perennial story that DC keeps selling hand over fist. There is a pocket edition of Hush, a compact comics edition that costs $13.50 Canadian for 12 issues of comics. That's amazing. You are not going to find a better deal than that in comics. And so if you've heard of Hush, you can experience that here, and then the new story starts here. This does take in place in the modern times. It doesn't take place immediately after the events of Hush. This is sort of where Batman is now and going through there. So it is in continuity, but is obviously touching on themes of the old Hush. Speaking of big books, we also have this edition of the Hush issue, which is what? Like a third of my body. It's pretty big. It's bigger than Treasury size. It's a big old bad boy to compare the sizes. They are apparently going to do this with each issue of the Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb run, so you can get that art at ginormical size, as you can see here. Big, take up the whole screen daddy energy. Look at that. Pretty freaking wild. He's a big boy. We have the return of Bitter Root, the next movement. For those of you who don't know, Bitter Root is a great series that was done by, I can't remember his first name, David F. Walker, Chuck Brown, and Sanford Green. They are all back for this as Bitter Root concept jumps from more of, I would say, the like Civil War style era, more to the 60s, 70s. And so you get sort of like a bit of Black history as told by the people with like fantasy elements and really good storytelling. It's a very affecting series, and I'm really happy to see it back. We have the comic shop editions of Free For All. This is the Patrick Horvath book he did digitally before he did Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. These are two of the editions that Oni put out. We still have a few of our signed copies that we got through his Zoop. It's like a Kickstarter, and we're one of very, very few stores that actually have signed copies of Free For All for you to peruse. For those of you who don't know what the concept is, big up here says Death Before Bankruptcy. In the future, the World's Finance League exists to benefit all, randomly choosing from among the billionaires and trillionaires of the world and presenting them with a choice. Either donate half of their assets to the common good or defend them in ritual combat. Reigning champion and real estate magnate Ted Brooks has 22 victories under his belt, defending the wealth he has schemed and stabbed to get. When he is forced to face his ex-wife, Luella Dominguez, in a fight to the death, Luella has been training, waiting for this moment, but will she have what it takes to defeat the man who would do anything, absolutely anything, to keep his fortune? We have the Harley Quinn Fartacular, the silent but deadly edition. It is in a bag because when you open the bag, the book smells like farts. As it says here, inside this issue, farts, artificial rub and smell farts. Just in time for April Fools. This comic reeks. It is by Joanne Starr and with art by Ted Brandt and Rose Stein. They are amazing artists. I love their work, and they do the cover, so that is their art style there. We have the return of Money Shot. Again, for those of you who don't know what Money Shot is about, this is a series where folks who have been looking for science grants or whatever realize that they're not really going to get any funding, and so they decide to go across all of space and aliens and record it and sell the pornography to fund science. And it's equally kind of like raunchy, but also very personal. It's about relationships and it's about science. It's about so many things. And this new run that's going to start is actually co-written by series co-creator Tim Seeley, with Patton Oswalt coming on board as the series co-writer. We have Our Brilliant Ruin Horror at Crane Mansion, based off of Our Brilliant Ruin games. This creative team is absolutely outstanding, though. It's Cullen Bunn and Christopher Mitten. They do outstanding work together. And even if you don't care for like the game stuff, you're into sort of like more of a House of Horrors type of storytelling, this is what you're going to get here. We have the Peacemaker Presents the Vigilante and Eagly double feature. This is very firmly in the Peacemaker TV universe. This is giving you a story of two of the characters in there, split in two, and you get like some bonkers stories. James Gunn does actually provide story for this. So he's the story consultant, basically, going through and making sure things are all on board. So it does line up with everything happening in the TV shows and whatnot. We got the Palluminati, a wee little Deadpool book where Deadpools from around the universe get together and cause a ruckus. It's a bonkers time. This has a whole bunch of different artists and writers in it, and if you just like Deadpool Insanity, there's a little one shot, little taster. Now, two of the big books coming out this week for creator owned, I'm very excited, is Matthew Rosenberg and I want to say Stefano Landini doing We're Taking Everyone Down With Us. This is a very interesting concept of a book because it features a young girl whose dad happens to be one of those like mad scientist types that James Bond fights. And this focuses on her and the robots that have been taking care of her, basically. And you like meet her dad and all this kind of stuff, and their interrelationship and everything. And then something happens. And I know Matthew Rosenberg has described this series as, what if you're a kid and this like weird drunk womanizer stumbles through your life and basically destroys it. And now you're like on the run trying to figure out what to do. Like, how would you interact with that? How would you go about living? What choices do you make? So it's very interesting to see sort of like a James Bond concept kind of flipped on its head. Plus, look at it. It's so gorgeously designed. I love everything about it. I love the colors. I love what they're doing with the story. Really cool. And finally, for single issues, well, there's still another big bad boy here, but you'll have You'll Do Bad Things, which is from Tyler Boss. And I don't know the artist's full name. Adriano Turtulizzi. Yeah, I did great with that pronunciation. This series is about a writer who's having trouble really getting kind of his stories out. He's famous for writing a true crime book about some kids that basically got really hurt, really bad. and he doesn't really want to. He's not comfortable with finding success and money just purely from people's misery. So he's trying to write something positive in the world, but something keeps happening to the characters that he keeps writing about. They tend to be grisly murdered by some kind of entity, and there's a bit of mixed reality stuff happening here, which would be very interesting to kind of see it play out. Tyler Boss has done some amazing writing work, and he does the art for what's the furthest place from here that Matthew Rosenberg writes. And so it's got a really interesting storytelling style and approach to stories in general. All right, let's get to some, actually, yeah. We also have this reprint of the Treasury edition, Batman's Strangest Cases, reprinting one of the Treasury ones from back in the day. And so it's got a whole bunch of weird stories in that nice Treasury format on kind of the old style paper. It's really cool. Now for collected editions, we have The Holy Roller. So for folks who don't know, this is co-created by Andy Samberg. And yes, that Andy Samberg. And Joe Troman, who was part of Fall Out Boy. Written mainly by Rick Remender with art from Roland Boschke. This is a wild story that seems way goofier than it is. There's so much, as there's some quotes on the back. Balances humor and heart to deliver the hero we just might need right now. So to care for his ailing father, pro bowler Levi Cohen is forced to quit his dream job and return to his hometown, which he soon discovers has been overrun by neo-Nazis. With only his bowling ball collection to defend himself, Levi becomes the Holy Roller, a trick bowling, ball-wielding superhero battling to liberate his home and bowl a perfect game against crime. So it's basically a dude against Nazis, neo-Nazis, trying to take care of his dad in his old hometown. This is a new book from Pow Pow Press called Going Under from Zveen. And there's a very simple explanation for this. And it is a very beautiful story, but it's also very affecting. It's going under. Its depression feels like drowning from the inside. Welcome to the aftermath of a mental breakdown. And so it kind of goes through different emotions and different states and how to pull out of it, kind of, and sometimes how to live with it. So a beautiful, affecting book. This hit me really hard, actually, when I read it. It's beautiful. We have Tedward. Meet Tedward, a blockhead with a heart of gold, raw talent for making bad situations worse, and a susceptibility to temptation, exploitation, and misplaced trust that continually lands him in hot water, featuring sex trousers, coital hygienists, warm televisions, hot rocks, and clown meat, as well as romance, crime, conflict, and cosmic wonders. A spiritual cousin to the great humorists of alternative comics, Josh Pettinger's singularly of tone and style shines in these episodic comedies. It's kind of like those cringe indies of the late 80s, early 90s. We have Uncanny Valley. This has been very popular here from Tony Fleece and David Wachter. As it says here, it's Harry Potter by way of Roger Rabbit. So you have Oliver is a seemingly typical 12-year-old boy, except for a mysterious family history that seems to start and end with his mother, and his new, surreal, and unexplainable powers, that is. Baffled by the cartoonish nature of his abilities and on the run from an army of real live cartoons, the mystery behind Oliver's heritage begins to unfold. It is, as it says here, written by writer Tony Fleece, who does Stray Dogs as well, and Dave Wachter. Discover what makes Oliver special as he searches for his place in the real brackets and not so real world. And finally, we have the Universal Monsters Frankenstein collection. This is the direct market exclusive edition, which means you can only find this in comic stores, friendos. And it follows in the line of Skybound and different creators reimagining a lot of these Universal Monster characters, updating their classic stories for the modern times. And this is one that was done by Michael Walsh. You will know him from The Silver Coin. Dr. Henry Frankenstein begins his unholy quest to create life by robbing the grave of a decorated police officer to find the necessary parts. But little does he know the corpse has a son who is mourning a father, and this young boy will stop at nothing to get his revenge on Dr. Frankenstein. And folks, that's going to do it for this week. Sorry for not being able to be here on my regular time on Tuesdays. I know a lot of you will be catching this after the fact because of that. Again, if you have any questions about what's happening with Diamond, I'll do my best to answer them all next week. So just leave some comments down below. And yeah, sorry for also the technical difficulties that happened. It's been a wild few days. That's a lot of first issues that have come out this week, and there was even more comics that came out. It was a deluge of stuff, and that's why the show couldn't happen yesterday. My dad is in town, went to have supper with him, and normally I try and record something to put out, and I just did not have the time. It was running real tight. So went to Waffle Bird here in the city, which is absolutely amazing, and it was International Waffle Day yesterday, so they're having a waffle eating contest. That was really fun to see. They used as an opportunity to raise money for the Stollery, which was really nice. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something about what's going on here. And if you didn't, well, I hope I can help you out, learn a little more something next week as we know for more information. And yeah, it was nice talking with you. I will talk to you again next week on Tuesday, barring anything absolutely catastrophic. My name is Brandon, and I hope you have a good day, etc., etc. Bye.